Hello friends, thank you for checking into Practical Convictions. This video focuses on why some people recover from layoffs and other people do not recover. You know, people think getting laid off is the worst thing that can happen in a career. I mean, it's a professional earthquake that resets everything for a person when they get laid off. But the truth is more complicated than just losing a job. When people lose a job, some bounce back quickly, while others never recover, and it affects you financially, psychologically, and professionally. Today, the real question isn't whether layoffs are happening, it's why some people recover and others collapse. More importantly, it's how you make sure you're on the right side of that divide. Layoffs are no longer rare events. In the past few years alone, companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Meta, Intel, and others have laid off tens of thousands of employees, even while remaining profitable. These weren't failing companies. They were recalibrating. Automation, artificial intelligence, cost pressure, and shareholder expectations have changed how companies operate. And once the pandemic-era safety nets disappeared, businesses were forced to optimize for efficiency again. That shift changed everything. Layoffs stopped being exceptions. They became structural. And yet, not everyone experiences them the same way. What most people don't talk about is the emotional impact. Losing a job isn't just losing income. It's losing identity. It's losing routine, losing certainty, losing the story you told yourself about your future. Research shows layoffs often trigger anxiety, stress, and emotional responses similar to other major life shocks. And even people who find new work quickly often carry lingering fear, the sense that stability can vanish at any moment. That emotional weight is part of why some people collapse. They don't just lose a job, they lose their footing. Here's something critical most people miss. Layoffs are rarely personal. Companies don't operate on loyalty, they operate on incentives. They cut roles based on cost, efficiency, automation, and future strategy, not effort, dedication, or how late you stayed. The people who collapse interpret layoffs as a verdict on their worth. The people who recover treat layoffs as information, data about how the system actually works. That difference, emotional versus analytical, is the first fork in the road. People who recover tend to do a few things differently. First, they don't internalize the layoff. They don't say, "This happened because I wasn't good enough." They say, "This happened because the system changed." That framing matters because it determines your next move. Second, they maintain structure. They keep routines. They schedule their days. They treat recovery like a process, not a waiting period. Studies consistently show that structured job searches reduce psychological stress and lead to better outcomes. Without structure, people drift, they panic, they procrastinate, they lose momentum. Another major divider is something called career cushioning. Career cushioning means upgrading skills, networking, and exploring options before you're forced to. Not out of fear, but out of realism. People who casually keep their skills current, their resumes updated, and their networks warm tend to recover much faster when layoffs hit. They're not scrambling from zero. They already have options. Some companies offer outplacement support, resume help, interview coaching, career guidance, but most people don't get that level of support, which means if you don't build your own system, you're relying on luck. And luck is a terrible career strategy. Reemployment data paints a clear picture. Most people who get laid off do eventually find work, but many take far longer than expected. Often with pay cuts, often in different roles, often after months of uncertainty. The difference usually isn't effort, it's relevance. People who recover quickly have skills that match current demand, or they're willing to pivot. People who collapse wait for the perfect role in a market that no longer exists. So what actually helps you recover and come back stronger? First, process the layoff before reacting. It may sound harsh, but layoffs are part of life, and you must see it as it is and not take it personally. When you do this, you can avoid panic because panic often creates noise, but clarity creates direction. When you don't panic, you can think clearly and strategize. Secondly, build a structure immediately. You cannot progress if you move randomly in life. You need to set out a plan and structure on how you would move forward. That means set hours for job searching. Set time for learning and upskilling so you're better positioned for the next job or stage of life. Set out time for networking. People often help or support people they like, not just people who know everything or are the best. Set out the jobs you are best positioned to apply for and get. Tailor your CV to match the job. Do not mass apply. Having a routine is beneficial. Routine stabilizes your nervous system. Third, upgrade your marketable skills. Look at what companies are paying for now, not just a degree or the job companies were searching for 5 years ago. Focus on skills that travel across industries because these skills create resilience. Fourth, network with intention. You are the sum of the people you hang around with. Don't just network or hang out with people randomly. Have real conversations with people who can advocate and benefit you and your career. Fifth, control your story. A layoff isn't a failure. It's a business decision. How you frame it determines how others perceive you and how you perceive yourself. Lastly, protect your mental health. Career resilience is built on emotional resilience. You can't think clearly when you're constantly in survival mode. Layoffs aren't a personal indictment. They're a structural reality. Some people collapse because they take the system personally. Others recover because they learn how the system works. And once you understand the rules, you can move differently. If this video gave you the motivation you need to launch your next idea and overcome the layoff disappointment, hit the like button. If you want more breakdowns on money, systems, incentives, and real-life decisions, subscribe. And watch this next video because it connects directly to this one and shows how to build real margin step by step. I'll see you in the next one.